Hello, everyone. In this video, I want to do something different and actually just try to walk through um, fine tuning a language model on OpenAI, just kind of from start to finish. Not really start to finish, but definitely just from the beginning of the process that I've already kind of set up, and just to do a little bit more thorough job to provide more transparency into how a model can be fine tuned on this platform. And also go into some of the I guess the technical aspects that I learned today on on some of the metrics related to training. We're going to get in maybe to training loss really quickly, and just again touch on the format that we need to incorporate to train a model. Okay, so when training a model, I find it very handy to use ChatGPT. I've kind of been at this a while. So, all right. So here's a good example. So I guess the goal here is to take a summary, just some text, a paragraph, and I want to be able to create an output like this. So it's the output is in Markdown. So it's just a format that that you see a lot on web pages and whatnot. But it's just a nice way to display text, um, and it's like a portable format as well. So the goal here is I use ChatGPT to get a list of all these medical narratives, okay, and I want to convert them into this, okay, so that I want to convert them into Markdown so that here's an example so that when we print it out, we can see a nice little, some tables there. Uh, and, we also have some bullet points, but we also have a summary here, but it's also in a table. Okay, so that's what I want to do. So we just kind of want to take, again, the input being this a narrative, and we want to convert that over into, a table or a markdown that has a couple of different formatting types. Okay, so the first step in doing that is if I can just go up here, just kind of show you where I started. Maybe if that'll be a good approach here. Yeah, so I mean, the very first thing I do is just like I start off with like let me say it's Chat GPT to give me some kind of give me some basic formatting, okay? Because the goal here really is just to get practice with given any kind of request for a form. I want to be able to tune a model so that we can guarantee the results, provide more consistent results to produce that output. Okay, so we want to get an input, a narrative, a patient summary, and we want to convert it into um, a markdown formatted document. All right, so uh, the first thing we want to do here, let's just kind of go right to the code here and explain it this way. So I've already done some of the legwork here, so I guess it's better to just do it this way here. So I use ChatGPT to get all these narratives, basically. Okay, get all these sorted narratives, and I have a system message, and the system message is explaining, what the role of um, this model should do. Um, so let's kind of see what I'm asking it to do for this patient narrative. Extract relevant patient data and create a markdown summary report in the specified format. Okay, and I'm just putting a little extra clauses in there, statements to maybe like tie the shoe a little bit, to tighten it up. Ensure accuracy, including the um, population of the markdown table. Sometimes I get a little bit. So I'm basically trying to ensure that the model, you know, processes these the data tables, because I actually like that view, and that's something that we're going to be able to see. We're going to see what happens when I tune this model. We're going to see that the model that's tuned actually does a better job with creating these data tables and just a non-tuned model and just giving a prompt for it. So I have a system prompt there, um, and I'm finding that with this particular task, it's also good just to tell them what the markdown format should be. Okay, so maybe this is just like an expected, this actually needs to be in a specific format, and so I'm just kind of heavy-handed, instructing the system prompt that the markdown should be in this format. Okay, um, so the patient information should be a table. The doctor's scene should be a list. The medications taken should be an enumeration, and so I'm giving directives here, and I also found that I get better um, results when I also just kind of give examples of what the actual markdown should look like. So I mean, this is like a legend to let the system know, the full range of options you have when using Markdown. So that's that. So that's a system message. Okay, and here this is This is the format that the the data set needs to be composed of. Okay, and this is going to come from the documentation. Really quickly, I'll show you, and I'll get into what this is over here in a second. But I'm following this format here. Okay, so right here. So in this example, our goal is to create a chatbot that gives sarcastic responses. But again, this is just a natural flow. What you would actually do if you type some input into Chat GPT or any other kind of chatbot on an OpenAI platform. Okay, so I mean, so there's always going to be a system message there, and this role of user. This is you actually typing in. This is what happens when you actually type in some text into the input. All right, so you are the user. Okay, and this assistant is going to be the response you get back from the chatbot. So I mean, we're just already going in and defining what these scenario. This is like one completion. This is one scenario. Okay, but this is how we train the model on a particular action or just whatever behavior that we want. All right, so that's where I'm getting this. Oh, sorry about that. Uh, that's where I'm getting this format here. Again, so I have the role of the system. I have the system message, and the system message that's going to be where are you? System message, right here. And I already said that. So that's going to be the system message. That's going to be the role. Okay, and this is going to be. Let's see here. Yep. Okay, so this is going to be this is me kind of giving or submit as a system message, but I'm also in this case, yeah, I'm using it's similar to a system message. I'm actually kind of echoing it because this task just requires that I have a document being generated from text, so I'm still going to echo pieces of what the system message is about, and actually that's what I did on this one. Actually, I'm also just kind of echoing large portions of the system message. But I also have in the system message. So to create this data set, we need to we need to create JSON objects. Okay, so we just need to create data objects that actually have examples of what the expected value in the in the chatbot is going to be, and what the expected output is going to be. So what this is doing here, this enumerate narrative. So this is looping through all of these narratives right here. So all of these narratives are going to end up being a collection of like JSON objects that have all the information that they're going to have the directives that are needed, and also like the output that's expected. So each one of these lines is going to get that treatment. Okay, and so that's what's happening here with this loop. We're looping through that list, and each list it gets a paragraph. So that each one of those, that's what this is doing is looping through that list. That series of paragraphs, that was an array, that was a list, and in that list, I'm just going through and I'm just applying this, these instructions, okay, in the background, basically. All right, and so um, I'm also where so that's going to be the instruction there, and I'm also saying please utilize the provided markdown format. So I actually have just an example format that's ideal. Uh, so it's like a template. So this is the medical summary example. Okay, so I want the output to have the patient's name, last doctor's visit, last doctor seen, and I have all of these. They're kind of like prompts a little bit, just to let the model know that this is kind of what you need to be put in there. From the narrative that the input is going to provide, there should be cues that there should be a language in there that'll allow the language model to recognize, okay, this is the patient's name, this is the last doctor's visit. So it's formatted a specific way, but again, this is whenever you tune something, a model, it's going to be for a specific task. So it might as well have an ideal template that needs to be that we're trying to reach. All right, so for each of those summaries, though, I also have an actual example of how the patient's narrative should be formatted. So ChatGPT is phenomenal for this kind of thing. So ChatGPT basically just gave me an example of each one of those patients, and put it inside of this markdown format. Okay, but that's going to help train the model, because it's able to identify, okay, with this particular patient, okay, let me see, Ethan Clark. Ethan Clark. So Ethan Clark's up here. So he has a complete summary in Markdown. So that's how we train it. So the model, it knows, okay, I need to be able to go from this text to this medical summary. Okay, this is what it needs to look like. Okay, so that it's just conditioning the model, and it's just like repetitive. Okay, it's just repetition in a small variation each time, and you're training it, to produce produce an output uh, in line with this template. Okay, so that's what we're doing here with this little piece of code here. All right, and finally, what we're doing here is I'm giving the output that I'm expecting. So the output that I'm expecting is basically from the same list. Okay, so that's what we're doing here in this piece of code, and what this is going to end up doing is it's going to be creating a data set. Okay, so let me go ahead and just run this and show you what that data set is going to look like. All right, and we can start getting into the actual OpenAI piece. Okay, so Python 3 Markdown data set. So I created it real quick. Okay, so here it's created these. So this type of file is called JSON-L. So because it's JSON, and they're just in lines. So just line by line JSON. Okay, and each one of these has all those different instructions. Okay, so that's the goal here. So narrative provided for the patient enclosed in backtick. So all these different patients. Okay, they're getting that treatment right there. Okay, so we have a data set, and per OpenAI instructions, we have to have a minimum of 10. Okay, so in order to train a model, so that's why we have 10 in this particular piece, and it's it's time efficient too. All right, so what we want to do now is we want to go back to the OpenAI platform. All right, and let's actually create a new one from scratch here. All right, so here I want to use. So I've kind of been at this a minute, but I want to use this 3.5 turbo just because it gives fast results, and I'm going to go ahead and select, this, this prime Eureka, data set, with 10, and I'm trying to get an MD, a markdown response. Okay, and we'll call this one for LinkedIn. Yeah, for LinkedIn. All right, base model. So ChatGPT 4, you have to request access for that one. All right, but that's why we're going to be using this 3.5 turbo. All right, so I have this here. It's the step we just finished. So that's the data. That's the data set that I just created, and we're going to upload it. Okay, and that should be it. So that's going to allow us to create the job. Okay, so we can do this from from code, but it's not really that much. It's not a big deal. It's just like 2 or 3 lines of code. So I mean, it's just fine to put it in here in the console. So this is going to create that fine tuning job. Okay, and I want to kind of get into what some of the metrics mean as well. Okay, so the training loss. So I have a job that's going to be running here. What happened here? Where's my job? What happened here? Okay, so that this was still running. Okay, so kind of got lost in a second there. So what does all this training loss mean? Well, if we go, okay, so I found that the training loss here is basically the closer you get to zero, um, over time, that's gonna be the ideal. Um, but let's see here. I saw some language here that basically uh, explained it correctly. But so basically, there's going to be some. The model is trying to fit the language model to your data, basically, and as it starts, I guess there's going to be some data loss, or it's going to go through some kind of reconciliation. Uh, uh, intervals. All right, and so if I can get one of these, okay. So in the beginning, it's trying to train your data set on the language model, and long story short, as the training process continues, the model gets more tuned to your data set, and you begin to trend towards zero. Um, Now, what the documentation says you also want to look out for is there's this thing called overfitting. So overfitting means that your data set and your model is been mapped so hard to your training data that it's not going to be able to be dynamic enough to apply those training, I guess, parameters, or those the formatting that you want against new data. So it's you need the model needs to be, I guess, loose enough in order to be flexible enough to be able to take a similar pattern of like a narrative text and be able to apply it dynamically so that you get good results. But if the model is overfitted, then that won't happen. I mean, so it won't produce a result outside of the data that's already been fed to it. So it's like locked. Okay, so it's like a vegetable. It's just it can't replicate, or it can't produce a new value from that input. Okay, so that's kind of rough explanation on the training loss. Let me see. I had okay. Let's see here. Um, Iterating. Should have saved it. Okay, but what I want to do here is I'm going to pause the video and let this training job finish. And so let's see. So we already starting to see some of that happen here. Also, the training job started. And let me just kind of show you just one more of these intervals here. Um, so this is the first. So you see, we started off. There's a lot of there's some training loss, and the documentation says is a lower than zero training loss is always good, but you don't want to get to zero. So that's like the threshold. So 1 to 0 is what I understand the goal that needs to be there. And so we see that it's like 0.2197 training loss, but that begins to encroach towards zero as the training data gets um, as we get more intervals. So I mean that looks like it's doing pretty well. Um, so it shouldn't be too much longer actually. And I'm going to go ahead and just kind of skip to the next part and tell you where we're going to go here. So this is the playground. Okay, so after that model is done, we're going to go to this playground here to test it out, and then finally we're going to go to the code and test it out. Okay, and so basically for the playground and for the model, we're going to enter the same values into the playground, which is going to be the system message and also just a random prompt or a random narrative with a small message. And we're going to see if the model that we fine tune can give us the results that we need. Um, so that's going to be the next step. Now, it does take a while for the fine tuning job to complete, no doubt about it. And this is only with 10 um, 10 entries, 10 JSON objects. So shouldn't be too much longer. Let's see here. Matter of fact, let me see. I have one. Let me see what the time was on one of the other ones that had 10 also. I think this one is. I think this one did. So that one actually had a lot of training loss. 1054. So there's like 4 minutes. So 4 or 5 minutes for that to happen. So this should almost be done. Yeah, and look at that. It finished. Yep. So it finished. And let's see. What was the training loss? So this is our job right here. So this 10:08, 10. Okay, so this one's time to start it. So this is our job. So this is the model that we want. Let me actually go ahead and copy this because I actually kind of have some code here that I'm also going to kind of show you, like the end result using, um, their API. So let me just put this in here just to kind of prepare for the next step. All right. Okay, bada bing, bada boom. So let's go back to the playground here, and we want to refresh the screen here. Let me grab this. Let me grab this because this should be the same. Let's see here. Yes, it's the same because I have all of the the markdown descriptions. And let me just refresh this. Okay, so we get a nice, and just to make sure that you know that this is all kind of consistent, let me get the same system message that I have over here, by the way. So let me just do it that way too. Let me get this system message. Where are you, system message? All right. Let me grab this. All right. This is the system message that I'm putting in. Even, right. Remember when I said that system message is right here. So that's the role system message. So I want to also put that over here because I'm going to compare. So right there. So we have that system message, and what I want to do is just get a random narrative. Let me see if I can get a. Please, I'm being nice. Normally, I'm not nice to Chat GPT. I'm just giving it demands, but I'm on camera right now. So please provide a random patient narrative in the styles. This, the style previously seen. So hit enter on that. Let's see if it. All right, cool. So this is one we haven't seen before. So this is Sarah Johnson. Okay, let's grab that, and we go to the playground, and we say, provide a creative markdown summary report. And let's cross our fingers to see if it works. Okay, so I have the model that I want. Remember, it should be LinkedIn. Where is it? I thought I named it LinkedIn. It's right there. Yep. So let's see what happens. I hit submit. There we go. Okay. So another thing. So I mean, it's giving us this markdown here, but we can still pass it. So I want to do two things. First, I want to see what results we get if I just use a regular model without the training. So let me get that here. It's probably going to be similar. Oh, and another thing, I want to increase the length. So I want the model to produce more tokens here, so I can see this throughout. So let me actually, I'll run it right now, and this is just using the regular model. Okay, so number one. Okay, so we see. So let me try that again. Let me just delete these. How do you delete? Okay, delete it right there. Delete it right here. Okay, so create a markdown summary report. I want to say try to create a data table. Try to create a data table uh, for the patient's medical history section. Okay, so let me hit enter and see what kind of results we get. Okay. All right. So what I'm asking for is that for this section, I wanted to create a data table. Okay, it's in like basically like this format right here, but it didn't do that. So let me try to go to the model that I trained it to do that task. Let me see if it'll give us a better result. Where are you, LinkedIn? Right there. So let me ask it the same thing and see if I get a better result. Here we go. Okay, it looks like that's not. Looks like that's kind of cut off actually. Let me see. Maximum length. Let me try one more time. Let me delete this. Where's the model here? Is that LinkedIn? Okay. So for the medical history, so I'll try one more time. So create a markdown summary for report. Try to create a table for the patient's medical section. Let me try that right now. Okay, now one thing I did notice here is that, all right, if we use 10, we don't, 10 is like a very low number. Okay, so I definitely tried to, speed it up for this recording, but let me try one more test here. Create a markdown. So, okay, well, let me try this. This is what I should have done. I need to be more explicit. I just want to say, using this. This is where the differentiation. I'm sorry. Using your training data. I don't know. Okay, now I just want to say create. Yeah, create a yeah. So sometimes being explicit actually works better. Create a what am I calling this? Markdown summary report based on your training. Include markdown tables for medical history. Just to be fair, let's see what happens. So I'm gonna try this one with standard GPT just to see what happens here. Okay, so it didn't give me that. Okay, let's try it with this one now with those same instructions. Okay, LinkedIn. This one. Okay, so it didn't give me the. This is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this medical history to actually be different, to be in the table. Let's try it now. There you go. All right, so it gave it to me this time, but that's what I'm saying. So that's it's a subtle difference, but we just saw it there. Okay, so it's actually it's been trained to actually produce this output. Now let's go to and that's what I was also saying. If you're more explicit, by letting the model know, hey, you've been trained to actually do this task. One of those models are going to have that memory, so to speak, and the other one is not, and that's the difference that we just saw right here. Okay, so I don't want to be too much longer on this. So let me go right to the actual code here, and I'm gonna do the same thing just to make this quick here. I want to put the same prompt in. I'm going to show what the output is going to be. We're going to create a markdown data set or a markdown document. Um, so what I want to do here is I want to pass that prompt inside here now. So I'm sorry, this is going to be in completion. Okay, completion is where we're actually going to run that. And so I also have this utility function that ChatGPT helped me to create. So that's going to help with some of the formatting, like edge cases kind of stuff. But we just saw that the output should be generating markdown. So the system message where we want to get the prompt. So the prompt is what we want to update. So prompts 1 2 3 1 2 3. All right, so we put all that inside of the prompt there. And let's see what the results are. Okay, so what is this here? So I passed it the model that we just used on the playground. Passing it the same system message as earlier, but this prompt is what we just used in the playground. Okay, And this utility function is just making sure that there's no extra spaces and whatnot, but it's still going to be marked down. Okay, so we run this Python 3 completion. All right, we'll see what happens. It's going to create this file. Okay, so we open that up. Okay, it's marked down. It has all the tables that we want. We just copy this. And let's go to this markdown viewer here. And ta-da! So, I mean, we have it, it's not perfect, but hey, listen, I mean, I think it's doing a pretty damn good job. So we have the patient information, all that. Some of this can, be a little bit tuned, but I'm just doing this for LinkedIn's, presentation. So we see the doctor's scene, so we have all that there. But like I said, I wanted to also make sure that we have like a little table there. Not the best table, but and again, this can actually be, tweaked. I'm just kind of using the use case that I had before, and I'm just trying to actually learn how best to actually apply these techniques. And so, all right, hey, at the end of the day, we got that marked down, okay? And I want to kind of conclude with that, so just a couple of pointers or I guess takeaways. So it's, when creating the system message, it's always better to be, explicit. And I also trying to leverage. I try to also leverage ChatGPT to help with the crafting of a system message too. I find that's effective. What do I mean by that? So a little trick here, and I'll end this. So I'll basically say I'll use ChatGPT to get me to. I want to get how ChatGPT interprets the data that is given me, right? So instead of me trying to explain what this what this object is, I'll do something like please or describe this this text, this markdown text. Describe this text, which will be used to, I don't know, describe this text, which will be used to train, which will be used for a training job, Be descriptive in explaining the markdown in this text. Now pass it that, and I'll just see. I'll just see how. Say the provided markdown text represents a comprehensive summary. So see there, that's what I mean. So it's telling us. So in markdown, the markdown should have a table detailing the patient's name, the doctor's scene. So this is saying that this is a list. So that's a markdown element. So and I'll end up just copy pasting this as also an instruction. I'll turn this into an instruction and say, hey, for the system message, you need to make sure that you're picking with these values. This value needs to be a table. Here's a description of the table. The doctor's scene. If there's a doctor's scene inside of the narrative, it needs to be. You need to create a section that's a list for that. And so I leveraged ChatGPT, to let me know how it interprets the data, and I just use that inside of the system message as well. So I know this kind of ran a little bit long, but I definitely wanted to just give a more comprehensive view of how to tune a model on OpenAI. Hope this has been beneficial. If you have any questions, please, you can definitely leave it in the comments or whatnot. And I really appreciate it. I mean, I'm also interested. I'm also making a course on LLMs and also just DevOps, SRE. I want to kind of about everything. So you want to look out for that. Please share this video if you found it interesting, and I look forward to creating more content soon. Thank you, and have a good rest of your day.